Keith Pompey covers the Sixers, spoke with Brett Brown and Jahlil Okafor today. And it has just been a bizarre turn of events, Keith. Have you seen something like this in your time covering the league where a guy, his name is in trade talks, so they sit him, he doesn't travel, and then basically do a 180 and reverse course?
Nah, I've never. I mean, and, this is only my fourth year, but then I talked to a lot of other people who've been covering the NBA for a lot longer than I have, and they're all, like, shocked. Not, this is, like, something new. It's new territory. Typically, when a guy sits out the way he did, that means that a trade is basically completed. I mean, it's just that, you're doing it just so the guy doesn't get injured. And the fact that he's back with the team is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, they basically you're usually in the framework of a deal. It's just dotting the I's and crossing the T's, right? I mean, hey, you're going
exactly.
to the point, Keith, where they told Jahlil the places that he might be going to, right?
Well, yeah. They kept him up in the breast with it. I mean, I think, the one team that a lot of people thought that he was headed to, was really Chicago. I mean, everyone thought that he would become. I shouldn't say everyone, but that everyone thought that Chicago was the front runner.
Do you now see a scenario where he is traded, or is this kind of showing that there's not a lot of market for him out there?
There's still, it's still at the 28th, so something can happen, but it just doesn't look good. I mean, it just doesn't look good. I'm not going to say it looks good for a trade. It just doesn't look good for the Sixers, to the fact that, you went through this entire process and then you turned around and did an about face. But, with the 23rd coming, that's 8 days from now. I mean, there's always opportunity and a chance that something could happen. It just doesn't look good.
Keith Pompey's with us. You spoke with Okafor today. What is his reaction? How does he kind of handling all of this?
I think he was coached up a little bit, but he was, concentrating on the positives, and he was a guy who said that just like the rest of us, he expected to be gone. He was wondering, like, where his next home was going to be, so to speak. But then he also said, no, this isn't a negative, is a positive that, to have people want you and stuff like that. But, I mean, you have to think that for a kid, who's 21 years old and he's going through this stuff, that he's a little bit confused. I mean, I would be. Not, 1 minute I'm being dangled in a trade. They're telling me to sit at home. They're telling me not to hop on a plane. And then 2 days later, I'm getting a phone call saying, hey, do you want to rejoin the team in Boston? So he has to be a little confused right about now.
Yeah, there's no doubt, because after the game on Saturday, he doesn't play. They don't bring him to Charlotte. It almost seems like, hey, and then they go and win without him. So, how is this kid's confidence that he obviously sees that they've been more successful without him, right? I mean, does he see that and understand it?
I mean, you know what? I don't think that he really gets into that. I don't think any of these players do. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you have to be extremely confident to get where you are. And, maybe maybe for him, he's just not the right fit for the Sixers, with his style of play. But, I don't think that his confidence is waning at all. I mean, because when he comes in, he produces points. So I don't see that his confidence is waning at all.
Okay, Keith Pompey, Philly.com's with us in Boston. Let me ask you about his knee. And, he had a meniscus injury, right? That's a pretty routine minor surgery. They're even calling a minor meniscal tear to Joel Embiid at this point. Is his knee still a problem? What did he have surgery in March? And is he still having issues with that knee? It seems like something doesn't add up with that knee.
I mean, like the way you asked me the question is kind of funny. Hey, do you think there's something wrong with his knee? I mean, yeah, there's something wrong with the knee. I mean, the problem is he's ice. I mean, I noticed just about the same as his knee as like other people. I mean, the problem is his knee is still sore. I mean, that's part of the problem. I mean, he hasn't been able to play. Now, again, we don't know if that's the reason why a trade didn't go through, because he's still able to play. The Sixers are going to play him tonight. But the fact remains that he still has problem with his knee. Yes, that's correct.
What are the other players, Nerlens and other guys? What do they have to say about what's happening? I mean, are they confused? Are they just it's just business? There's a lot of young guys here.
Well, what the guys on the team are saying, what's up, man? What the guys on the team are saying is like this is the first time that they've seen something like this. At the same time, they're all welcoming him back. They all like Ja.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things where Nerlens said he was excited to see him back, and he's there for him. Nerlens, which is kind of funny because Nerlens is only a couple years older than him, but he even offered him some advice on how to keep your head up, how to do this, how to do that. So it's one of those things where, the guys, they really like him. He's one of their teammates, and it's the funny thing not the funny thing, but the thing that you get about this is that they all have their own issues. Like Nerlens, he didn't want to be the third string center. He wants to play, but at the same time, they all have a genuine love for one another. That's his teammate. He cares for him. He doesn't want to see his teammate, in this type of situation. So, I think that's good. All the guys are that way with Ja. And the funny thing is, even though Ja doesn't play all the time, when he doesn't, he's the first one, clapping for Nerlens, telling him great job. And it's the same thing vice versa.
Yeah, they seem like they like each other. And it seems like it's a good atmosphere. And yet, this weekend has kind of been, I guess, a little bit of a PR hit. You move over to Joel Embiid. He's dancing on the stage, and then the team's not forthcoming with. Now, the dancing thing, some people say it's not a big deal. Other people think it's the worst thing that you ever saw. More of it's that the team just wasn't forthright, right? I mean, that's where, Joel put the team in a bad spot. I guess, he's a young guy. Maybe he doesn't understand that. But the team put itself in a terrible spot.
Yeah, I think if the team had to do it all over again, they probably would have been a little bit more forthcoming. And again, it's one of those things. They're saying that this was a prior. They believe that it was a prior injury. So with that being said, I guess they felt like it wasn't important for them to disclose it. However, with them not disclosing it, it just kind of looks like they weren't being forthright. About that. I mean, because a lot of people are saying they believe it was a pre-existing injury. And again, it's one of those things where, under the Hinkie regime, they really didn't like disclosing injuries at all. I mean, they wouldn't tell it. I mean, think about it. There was a time when Embiid, before he missed his second season, that they were saying he was going to play in the summer league, and then we found out that he wasn't. So, I'm not going to put all this onus on Brian Colangelo. I think a lot of people want to say it's Brian Colangelo's fault. I just think that this is just how the Sixers have been, over the past couple years. And I think that he was just basically, following suit, doing what continuing the tradition of not disclosing information.
So does that suggest that that's coming from above him, the ownership group, the CEO saying this is how we do things? We don't want, because Colangelo has been in other spots. And remember when he was brought here, it was thought to be, well, now they got a credible NBA and a basketball guy, and the Sixers are going to be, you know what I mean?
It could be. Because if nothing has really changed when it comes down to disclosing information. There's nothing. Nothing has really changed. And it could be. It could be one of those things where, and there are certain teams that do that. There are certain teams some teams are very forthcoming with information. They let you know. There are certain teams like, the Utah Jazz. And, when they have an injured player, they send it out to every beat writer in the league, their information. And then there's other teams who they're like hockey teams, lower body injury, upper body injury,
Do you think, asking a lot of different people, it seems like you get 50-50 on it. Do you think Joel is injured, that he could not play? If this team was a playoff contender or a top 4 seed, is he to the point where he could not play in that scenario?
I think he could play. If in that scenario, if this team was basically in the playoff hunt, I think he could play. It's just one of those things where, over the last couple of years, we realized when the team wasn't winning, guys had injuries, and it was one of those things where they just basically, were extra cautious. The one thing we got to understand is this isn't the first time that the Sixers have been cautious with Joel. Mm-hmm. It looks crazy. It sounds crazy. But, there was a game where Joel was at the 24-minute mark, I believe, and the game went into double overtime, and he didn't play, even though his plan would have gave them the best opportunity to win. But the reason why he didn't play is because they didn't want him to go over his allotted minutes.
Keith Pompey's in Boston with the Sixers. They say they hope that he's ready to play after the All-Star game. Do you believe that will happen?
I think he'll play. I think he'll play. Brett Brown came out. A guy told us that, and then Brett Brown came back and said he's not going to put a specific date on it, but the goal is to have him play. I think that due to all the and not just the negative press, but I think that the goal is to get this guy back on the floor and have him play.
Yeah, obviously, Keith, this town has gone through a lot, so the speculation is they don't want to win. They're trying to, pump the brakes because the team has been too successful, too fast. So, hey, the scary part is for them, they keep winning without him. I looked up today. They've won 13 games with Embiid and 8 without him. So it's almost like they're almost getting to the point where they've got a competitive team out there.
Yeah, they do, but he also gives them their best chance to win. Nerlens Noels, Nerlens Noels is good. T.J. McConnell is better than most people give him credit to. So they are playing well. They are playing well, but believe me, he almost made the All-Star team for a reason.
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's the man.
Ben Simmons, you think he plays this year?
I'm not 100% sure about that. But, Mike, I don't mean to cut this short, but I have to hurry up and do media availability.
Yep.
So, all right.
Yeah, you got it, Keith.
Buddy.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we got to let you go do your job. Keith Pompey getting ready. The Brett Brown speaks at 5:15.